So that I would not eat together. I wouldn't consider those 100% parv. But thereafter, the oven becomes parv. And the same will be true if you come, for those of you that have been to the Hanoka household. So Miss Hanoka, she bakes sourdough, delicious sourdough. I'm a little biased. So, and she bakes them in the clay pots, and it's baked at about 500 degrees for about an hour. So that also, if we would do that in the fleishika oven, that also would kasher the oven, because again, you're getting it to an appreciable temperature, and it's a par of food, and it kashers it. And in the case of the clay pot, it's easier anyways because it's covered. But just mentioning the concept. The sourdough is completely part because we're baking it covered anyways. But if it wasn't covered, it depends. It's a little bit, when it comes to bread, it's a little bit different because bread is not a food that has any steam to it. It's a dry food. So if I bake the bread, let's say covered for a half an hour, yes, and at 500 degrees, so I'm already towards the kashering process, then I uncovered it, I would say the bread is still considered to be 100% hard. But I wouldn't be so comfortable doing that right from the onset because there might be some residue around and stuff. Okay.
How long did you say you should turn on the oven for?
1 hour.
1 hour. And you don't have to clean it, right?
Just surface clean. It doesn't have to go through a cleaning for your mother-in-law, that kind of thing. Doesn't.
So,
Excuse my humor, but this is just part of the way Hashem created me.
so that's to get,
By the way, my father told me before I got married, he said to me, remember, humor is the ticket. My father was a very funny person, and he had running jokes all the time. So part of okay, so anyway, yes.
so that's to get dairy to part, could it also be dairy to meat?
Yeah, no, okay, so that's a good question. To go from dairy to meat, it's a similar concept. Some Rabbanim hold that you should wait 24 hours before doing so, and some Rabbanim hold it's not required.
I mean, you wait
I
24
asked Rabbi Kasimov, and he told me that's not required, enough to just do it for 1 hour. If you're going from kosher to kosher, even from meat to dairy, yeah.
I was always confused, sorry, I was always confused about like waiting 24 hours. If you wait 24 hours, like before using it, then you clean and then you turn it on high? Or do you wait 24 hours after doing it?
It's okay to wait 24 hours before you clean also. Either way is okay, because when you're cleaning it, you're not getting it hot. When after the 24 hours have lapsed. You're scrubbing it down. The idea is that you want to, those that say you should wait 24 hours, they want to have 24 hours lapse from whatever is absorbed inside the walls. The cleaning, if it's cleaning just being done with room temperature or just a little warm water, wouldn't be an issue. But I think one could be lenient for traffic the thing, you know, the way. Yeah.
I think it was like from like 60 pops of the years ago from like to Parv or like Yochid to Parv. These like the pot doesn't have to be burning anyway, and that also applies to oven. What is Ben Yomin?
Ben Yomin means but an oven's a little bit different because an oven has mamash, has actual residue. A pot, you wash it out. Yes, you wash it well and it's clean. But an oven, the roof of the oven has the steam, the residue. So it's a little bit different in that sense. The dynamics are a little more sensitive and more complex.
You can use the pot when you're doing.
No, it's not what you think. Saying you think. No, we don't go back and forth in kosher this casually either, but
Yeah.
we're just saying that when it comes to a pot, it's easier to clean. And it's more like every time you wash it, basically it's considered clean. When it comes to an oven, usually going to be some residue there, unless you do a specific cleaning. So it's another one's coming. Sorry, can't help it. No.
I was just thinking about the par bread again. So if you use glacial utensils, it doesn't matter because it's like all cold utensils, and then it can still be par.
Tell me more details, like what?
Like what utensils?
No, give me an example.
Oh, like the bowls, like. that you usually put, like,
So
for
in
food.
general, if I'm going to make a par of food, let's see how I'm trying to unpack the question. you're asking, can you take plastic utensils, let's say a plastic bowl, clean, can you use that to knead the dough, etc., to make hard bread?
Yes.
So my answer would be that if you want to be able to eat the bread with dairy, if you have other bowls to use, it's more proper to use a park bowl. But if you don't have any other bowls to use, yes, and the fleischiger bowl is clean and is only being used in a cold application in such a way, it would still be acceptable if you have no other choices. But it's not an ideal choice to start with. Okay. Should we study something? All right, what do you think? What's the brain stories? What's on the agenda for today?
I feel like I haven't run cautious in like 5 months, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Yeah. I work during this time, I'm on break.
Aha, for you, it's a opportunity. Okay, so where are we up to? I have us up to, I believe we're up to page Samach Zayin. Or about maybe kind of a dalit about what's considered to be edible raw. It's a very fascinating discussion, by the way. We'll start from page Samach Vav, 66. It's a nice even number. I'm going to share with you some background on this matter. In reference to the laws of Bishul Akum, foods that are cooked by a non-Jew, that to qualify for a food to be Bishul Akum, which would be forbidden to consume, there are two stipulations that have to be in place. Number one, it has to be the kind of food that is not edible in its raw state. To the exclusion of something, let's say carrots or apples. You can eat them raw, be a bunny rabbit, or you can have apples. You eat apples. You can do that, right? So therefore, when a non-Jew cooks the apples or the carrots for you, there isn't that feeling of, wow, you did something amazing. You took something that was basically inedible and you made it edible. No. I could eat it like this, I can eat it like that. It's just a question of preference. Not such a big deal. On the other hand, if you take something, let's say, like a potato, a root vegetable, like a potato, it's inedible raw. So when someone cooks it, there's that wow effect. Wow, you took something that was just not edible and you made a sumptuous new potato wedges. That are perfect for us. No, we went through this every day, right? So there's that wow effect. The first qualification to be able to be in the category of something that would be subject to the laws of Bishul Akum would be has to be a food that's not edible raw. And the second qualification is that has to be the kind of food when it's prepared, or the kind of food that would be served at a fancy event, like a king's table. It doesn't only a king's table. It means a fancy dinner, a wedding, right? So to the exclusion of, let's say, popcorn. They don't serve popcorn at fancy dinners. Imagine you go to a dinner that a yeshiva is making or a school is making. They charge $250 per person, and they serve you popcorn. You pack your bags. You have popcorn at home. You don't need this, right? But you want to go for a nice presentation. It's not going to be that. Okay. So those are two qualifications. Now,
You repeat that, sorry. And Bishul Akum is cooked by non-Jew.
foods cooked by non-Jew. Yeah. So what's interesting is that. What's interesting is I love to tell stories. Yeah, part of my DNA. Bless you. So I had a colleague, an older man who worked with DOK for. His name was Rabbi Feivel Muller, of blessed memory. A fantastic, wonderful person. He taught me a lot of good things. I'm grateful for him. The Shalom should be a lifted Gan Eden. Anyway, so he told me that when he was a child in Europe, it probably was in the 1920s or 30s, maybe, going back to maybe the 40s, I don't know exactly. He said that nobody ate carrots raw. In those days, I wasn't born then, but he said that people did not eat carrots raw. So in those times, in that country, carrots would have to be made Bishul Yisrael. But in America, it became a big thing. Eat the carrots raw, they're good for you, and they have the mini carrots, it's like the. So then in America, it's not a problem. Eat them, have them cooked by a non-Jew. So if a non-Jew cooks simas, yes, then strictly speaking, it's not a problem with Bishul Akum. It's not a good idea to get them used to cooking because then they'll cook other things that are problematic. But strictly speaking, that act in and of itself would not render the food of Bishul Akum. You know what the word simas in Yiddish means to make like a fuss. So if they cook simas, you don't have to make it. You don't have to make a simas about it. You have to make a fuss. It's just part of it. Anyway, okay, so that's that. Yes, clear.
Like they turn on the flame,
Yes, they cooked it. Yeah,
they put,
if they did all the cooking from beginning to end. Yeah.
that's the same table thing?
Yes, that has to be the kind of food that would be served at a royal banquet, a royal dinner, as opposed to. Well, they have artisan popcorn because they want to convince you that they're justified for charging you $11.99 for a bag of popcorn. So therefore, they put caramelized on it. They make it salt and sweet. I'm in the business. It's sweet and salty, and they drizzle. It's all marketing. It's the same piece of corn. Pop. With a few little with a suit. Sugar. And just like the owner of Starbucks, he convinced people to pay $7 for a cup of coffee. It's all in the marketing. Right? There was that famous, you all heard of Jackie Mason, bless him memory. He was, he came from a family of rabbi. So he was by the Rebbe for dollars, very funny person. Anyway, so a Jewish comedian. He said the people that sell seltzer are stupid. He says, he was very blunt. I'm sorry, he's very blunt. He says, people pay lots of money for anything with like a French sounding name. Perrier, sounds good. He says, they should call it a seltzer. He says, they'll make much more money with all the marketing. But the point is that if something is chashuv, yes, then when we deal with it, it's in a different category. And it could be subject to blows of Bishul Akum. Even with the gourmet popcorn today, I'm still not convinced they would serve it at a fancy event. By the way, I used to have one of my the contacts in one of the companies that I worked with. He was a chef, and he used to cook for state dinners for 5,500 people. I'd ask him questions about what kind of foods they would serve and what they wouldn't serve, because they're actually relevant to this halacha. You have to find out you get a sense of the pulse of what's going on in this country. Yeah. Okay. Then we get into the whole discussion. Ronald Reagan used to like jelly beans, right? Jelly beans. Well, the answer to that is that, well, the jelly beans, he would sit probably in his own private quarters. He would lunch on jelly beans. I don't think when he was at a state dinner with all these great dignitaries, he was busy giving out jelly beans, or they were serving jelly beans to them. It wouldn't behoove the occasion. Okay. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Sorry, the whole, like, the shop with like the stove and everything, like, but if like, a non-Jew, someone on your oven, does not render it like you have to cost it again before it's do that?
It's a great question. The answer to that is, there are two opinions about it, but we follow the opinion that says you would have to kasher the oven under most circumstances, unless there are other mitigating factors. But that's a good question. Yeah.
If
So
they cook like these carrots or something, it's fine for that one meal, but like after that, you have to cost it.
no, because carrots are edible raw, so it's no problem
Okay.
whatsoever. But let's say they bake potatoes for you, and they bake it in a certain vessel, then the vessel would also have to be kasher. That's how we paskin. But if there are other reasons to be lenient, we could possibly work with it. But generally speaking, we would be machmir like that.
What if they turn it on and then you stir the food?
Oh, then it's fine. Then
Okay.
you so to speak save the food, because the Jew, as long as the Jew or Jewess was involved in an integral part of the actually baking or cooking process, doesn't mean just buying the food at Empire Kosher. It means that you actually stirred the food, you put it into the oven, you put it on the stovetop, you're good to go. So, for example, when you make a barbecue, let's say you have make a barbecue. So the Jew should just for simplicity's sake, the Jew should light the coals, get it going, and then other people can run the barbecue. As long as there's no kosher environment that's being properly overseen, it's fine. That's how that works. There was a Rav in Eretz Yisrael. I think it was a friend of blessed memory. He said, I think it was him. I'm just saying, I think because I'm not positive, but one of them said, it's directly, these laws are directly linked to the issue of intermarriage. The rabbis made these prohibitions, these guidelines in order to prevent intermarriage. And he said, to help curb the tide of intermarriage, we have to strengthen these laws directly from the Mishnah. If you're saying that it's important not to be lax, we should try and make sure that this is really followed as much as possible to the proper degree, because it gives us the insulation, and we spoke about this. The way to intermarriage is a disservice to both nations, because every nation is special to their God-given mandate. Okay. Let's look at the inside. Halacha da'avdav, and nefach meishu chai tumli tzedabul lo shetira chachamim. The rabbi said it's permissible shabishli, not even though a non-Jew cooked it. Totally b'minhag nachis b'nadam. It depends on the custom of the people. Imroi b'nei adam echin tzedirakum v'shov. Most people only eat this food cooked. Afsha yochra echleichai b'chol dait. Even though this individual, they have it raw, their das, I would say their way of doing things, right? Their approach is nullified in the masses. Even for them, that food would be usher for non-Jew cooks. So let's say, for example, we have a few opera singers in Krabi, and they eat eggs raw. Be able to have the voice, so it should bellow out. Who knows, right? So does that mean that for them that the eggs do not have to be made b'shei yisrael? No, because 99.9% of all residents of the whole America, yes, would say that you're not going to eat eggs raw, just because we have a small segment of the population that into opera singing and they eat eggs raw, their approach becomes nullified in the masses. And even for them, if someone cooked an egg, it could be Bishul Akum. It would be Bishul Akum if it was done without a Jew's involvement. Okay? The same would be in the reverse. The same would be in the reverse, in a lenient sense. If most people eat a food raw, let's say, for example, carrots. Most people in America would have carrots raw. But you have some people, no, I only eat carrots, I only eat Teves. And their approach becomes nullified in the masses, and the food is considered to be edible raw. Even for them will be permissible. In other words, the barometer, the benchmark as to whether or not the food is edible raw in this country goes after the majority of the residents of the country. In one country, in America, we eat carrots raw. In another country, like my colleague said to me back then, I don't know what goes on in Europe today, but they did not have carrots raw. And you go after the country that you're in now. That's where you're going to follow. And if you travel to the other country and you're staying there, you could go after that with the minute there. Now, halacha hey, very interesting also. I'm very intrigued by this because halacha and the Torah gives us clear guidelines of what we should do. The word halacha means path, like hiluk. It's the same terminology as a path. The path forward, right? It's giving us a clear path of how to approach our lives, how to follow our lives, how to lead our lives, etc. Within that framework, it's clear and says, depending on what is considered to be of a royal nature in this country or not, that's where you apply it. So, for example, I'm told that in Eretz Yisrael they would serve corn by a chasana. I'm not such an expert on that, but that's what I'm told. In America, it's not very common to serve corn at a chasana. Some people hold that corn is not considered a shulchan levachim. It's the cheapest feedstock in America. And I had a discussion with another Yid last night by Maidev, and he's from England. He said in England also nobody from the royal family has corn. It's considered to be not Regal, not Royal. The cheap food. So it depends which country you're in, right? So it's dependent on the time and the place. It's difficult to actually to draw upon what the poskim wrote in previous generations or previous what's considered today, because maybe things change, the style changes, food. You have the foodies, right? You have the fads change and what's considered the norms and all that. What's not because what was choshev then it's not like today. So I'll give you another example. Tortillas. I just had a good discussion with a tortilla manufacturing company. These people are professionals. They sell this thing. They do this for a living, and they're from Mexico. I said, in Mexico, I asked them this question. It's this halacha. They said, in Mexico, would tortillas be served at a fancy event? So it was actually family members. They were looking at each other, discussing it. Wow, depends when people like a little bit of a. But it sounds like some definitely is considered to be a standard food. But what some people would serve at a fancy event, some not. But it has a side to it that's considered to be more kosher. In America, tortillas are not as kosher. I think they're a little bit more of a. It's a nice food. It's a little bit, but it has a little bit of a twist of a more of a fast food type of thing. So it could be questionable. A Rav would have to decide that. I'm just bringing an example, but you see that the culture of the country comes into play here, because and this brings us to a concept of chassidus. I'll get to your question in a moment. Everything what we do is it needs to bring is for to bring down all the course in the physical world. So we have to see what's going on in this country. What are the cultural norms in this country, and we have to bring all the course and godliness into that space. Yes.
Regardless of whether they're kosher or not, like, don't they sell to Israel because they're made out of.
You're correct, but I'm talking about corn tortillas. Corn tortillas is not from the 5 grains, so they're a shahakal product. The question is, so in America, corn tortillas would not be choshev, but I think in Mexico they are shtickle choshev. It's very common over there. So you see where they put the ones. Good point, though. Good question. Yes, tortillas made out of regular flour from the 5 grains are in the category of pasta. Then I have a story for you after that. Okay. In made of mozen anechol chai, someone mixed food that's edible raw. The Michael Tzarech Bishul together. What happens? Let's see. What happens if someone's thinking, okay, it's a cold wintry day. We have to talk about soup, right? Minestrone soup or vegetable soup, right? So the vegetable soup has carrots, it has celery, of which are edible raw, and you have water. It's also edible raw. Not edible, but you drink it raw. So, but it also has potatoes. Let's say it has cubes of potatoes and sweet potatoes in there. Those two are not edible raw. And so you go after the majority of the food. If most of the food is edible raw, permissible. Right? I'm going to explain what I mean by permissible in a moment. So please hold the thought. I want to give you the whole picture, and then we'll tidy it up in a nice form. There's a further leniency with regard to Bishul Akum. Even if they're equal, even if it became us already, even there would be batul b'reit if it got mixed in later. These dinim are talking about as long as the Michael Ha'asar is not nikar kishala'atzmai. So the example I gave you about the vegetables, so if I have cubes of potato and sweet potato just swimming around on the soup, I see them. You can't say they're nullified, they're there. So, but on the other hand, if someone took an immersion blender and made the whole thing into a creamy substance where you can no longer discern the sweet potato, the potato from the carrots, and the whole thing is one big cream, then it will be considered to be bottled if it's less than the majority.
So if you're just making like a minestrone soup, then that's not permissible. Like if
Minestrone soup, I think, has pasta in it, has also some beans. There
Okay,
there's
yeah.
probably some ingredients that have to be officially sold in that, guessing.
But like, if it was just potato, I don't know, okay, different vegetable soup.
If it was just potatoes, if it's a
Right.
majority of potatoes, then it wouldn't be, it would have to be officially installed. And what I just said now, I'm not saying it as an approach to do l'chatchila,
Right.
but if it was done, it would be nullified.
Okay.
I'll tell you a story. It's not, it's an anecdote. Someone asked me a question about corn chip. It's not good. It doesn't have to be Bishi as well. This was someone, a young person asking this many years ago. And I knew that his family, they're strict. They only have Bishi as well corn chip in the home. So he says to me, do they have to be Bishi as well? So really, there's a lot of, there is support to say it does not have to be Bishi as well, because corn is a feedstock, it's already not kosher, and the final appearance of the corn chip is also not kosher. So those are the stringent, but really, you have plenty of support to say it's okay. But they're going to tell them that because then I'm going to spoil what. So I said to him, you need to follow whatever your family's tradition is on the matter. So we have to remember to answer the person, not the question.
Also, corn is edible raw, right?
In some places, yeah, yeah. In some cases, I'm not sure all corn is. I'm not sure all corn. Not cooked though.
No, that's
It's going to be hard. It's probably edible. I would say edible. Under duress. It wouldn't be geschmack. But by the way, I was interesting. I'll share with you. I was in at a farm in the summertime, and whatever, working with a farmer. He sent some corn home with me. 2 pieces. It was so delicious. Fresh corn. I mean, like not stuff you get in the store. Fresh corn, straight from the farm was like. It was unbelievable.
You ate it raw?
No, I cooked it,
Oh.
but it was like so much better than the ones you get. There's no real
Fresh corn.
comparison. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. What else do we have? Yeah, so that takes care of that. Oh, let's see what was. Any questions? We'll go right there. We'll go further. Okay. Halacha Zayin. Yesh min harishonim. There are some Rishonim shehitim Masha Bishul Akum B'Beis Yehudi. Some say that whatever a non-Jew cooks in a Jew's home is permissible. Ki lo yishayich boi chashash es chafas. But the concern of intermarriage doesn't apply over here. Even shalei novay ha-yisrael lechol beis hanochi, because it's not going to bring for the Jew to eat in a non-Jew's home. When do you have a problem with intermarriage? When the Jews want to start mingling, yes, in their places. But if the non-Jews in your house, you're in a Jewish environment. Most of the poskim do not agree with this approach. That's the sheet of Ram ben David in Teves and Zara. The Allah is not like him. Lefikach b'mikra shabishul nachar b'beis Yisrael, in the case where a non-Jew cooked in a Jewish home, apilika sheyitol re'eim, if a Jew sees it, also luckily one's not allowed to have the food. The next halacha is going to get into avdus, servitude. Today, when we have domestic help in the home, they're not servants. They can come and go at their own will. If you treat them well, you keep them happy, they're probably going to stay, but they can leave if they want to leave. There's no, it's a big country, so to speak. So they're not really avoided. And therefore, if they do cook in your home, it's problematic. Now I'm gonna tell stories. I just feel like the time. Sorry. There was a story with a chassid. A story with a chassid who, let me put a bookmark for myself here. There was a chassid in the early years, like the early 50s. Not all chassidim had beards. They were coming from the war, it was like, they were just rebuilding Judaism and Yiddishkeit. It was a transitionary period. So there was a certain chassid that the Rebbe wanted to encourage him to grow a beard. It was brought down in Zohar that the Gimel Tikkun Dikna, that the beard of 13 attributes of mercy, and the place it's holy stuff. But the Rebbe didn't want it to come from the Rebbe because he wanted the person to grow it on their own. So the Rebbe sent somebody. I'm just going to use this as an example. The Rebbe sent to Ruvain to go to Shimon. Told Shimon to grow a beard. Just talking about the importance of it, the significance of it, to elevate them. So he goes to Shimon and tells him, tells him all about the significance. And Shimon is like, no, he's comfortable. He's not moving from his space. He's staying where he's at. And then Reuben tries this and tries another approach a few times, and he remembers that the Rebbe said to him not to disclose that if the Rebbe really wants this. He's just trying to get him on his own to do it. And then finally, Reuben was like exasperated. He didn't have any other way. Francis Shimon says, the Rebbe said me, the Rebbe wants you to have a beard, to grow a beard. He says, oh, okay, I didn't know, so you grew a beard. So then when Reuben goes back to the Rebbe to report to the Rebbe said, Ich hab gewollt als Shimon soll wachsen sein Bart. I wanted Shimon to grow his beard, not my beard. That's one story. I'm going to share with you another story, the same concept with regards to fundraising. There was a Yid in Australia, his name was Zalman Tarbiansky, he was a mashpia there in the shir. Anyway, so there were two people that were going to fundraise by a wealthy individual to try to get him to give money for yeshiva. They went and then they spoke to him and this and that, and they kept getting rebuffed and pushed out. So one time, and after two times, so three times, so they came to the mashpia. What should we do? The mashpia said to them, no, when he gives you a rejection, it's not him, it's his Yetzer Hara. He really wants to give money for tzedakah. It's not him, it's his Yetzer Hara. He really wants to give. Keep trying. They keep trying a few more times until they finally give up. They come back to the mashpia. They said, there's nothing else we can do. He's not giving us money. So the mashpia says to them, Yenem's Yetzer Hara, this guy's Yetzer Hara, I went into you now. If you believe that, because really every Jew wants to give tzedakah. It's a question of reaching. And now we'll tell you a third story. That's the danger with me. Once we open the pipeline, things explode. So then, when Rebbe came to America, I think this was in 1929. Rebbe came twice. I think this happened in 29, though, in Paytest. They gave that there was a list of in Chicago. There were a lot of wealthy people, a lot of Gevirim. So Chicago was almost in the center of the United States. There was a lot of commerce that went through there, a lot of business. Anyway, so there was a Yid there who was. They called him the shmata. He was in the clothing business. He sold coats. We're going to call him Mr. Cohen. I don't know his real name. Anyway, but he was a miser. He didn't give any tzedakah. And they gave the Rebbe a list of Gevirim to go to get money to collect money to bring back to Europe for the Eden there, the Shivas, etc. And Mr. Cohen's name did not appear on the list. So the Rebbe said, how come Mr. Cohen's name is not on the list? They said to the Rebbe, he's a miser, he's not going to give any money, we don't want to waste the Rebbe's time. The Rebbe said, I want his name on the list, and I want his name to be first on the list. Because his name first on the list. The Rebbe comes to Mr. Cohen's office, knocks on the door. That's what their answers are. Rebbe, what can I do for you? I'm here to see Mr. Cohen. Anyway, so Mr. Cohen says to the secretary, tell the rabbi I'm not going to give him a red cent. I'm not going to give him a cent. The miser. The chief rabbi hears that, he says, tell Mr. Cohen I'm not asking him for money now, I just want to speak to him. I want to talk to him. Okay, so Mr. Cohen comes out, everyone wants to talk to him. The rabbi is coming from Europe. The chief rabbi came from Europe. The chief rabbi the phone comes out, they could have a filter, in the back of his coat, he needs a button. Says, I see that you're in the clothing business, and I'm missing a button, maybe you can help me. So the miser says to the Teves, says, Rabbi, do you think I'm a fool to believe that the rabbi traveled all the way from Europe, over the seas in a boat to come here to my factory, my warehouse, just to get a button? And then the Teves said to him, do you think I'm a fool to believe that kavana sirius nishmatzcha, that the whole intent of your soul coming down from the celestial heights to the lowest of to this lowly world, and Hashem blessed you with wealth, is that you shouldn't use it to build yeshivas, chadorim, mikvahs, you should live Yiddishkeit. And the Rebbe broke his heart, broke through him, meaning, and he melted his heart and started giving tzedakah. Rebbe conditioned. Yeah. I'll tell you one more story. There was another Yid in Chicago, by the way. There's a lot to compute him. With Robinson, it was Kramer. His Rebbe came. They were so taken by the Rebbe. It was the first time they saw Chiddush Rebbe. So they became attached to the Rebbe right away. And these were people, regular businessmen. They didn't come from Mamish families. They didn't have, but they were Mamish connected with the Rebbe. At least one of them gave the Rebbe an open checkbook. Signed checks, whatever the Rebbe needs. And so can I tell one more story? I'm overstepping my time, but there was a Yid named Palmer. He was also Gvid, and he had an opportunity to do a certain business. And he asked the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, don't do it. They'll make millions. But he couldn't, the temptation was too great. He couldn't withstand the temptation, and he did it anyways. And not only did he not make any money, but he owed lots of money. So he was in danger of losing tremendous amount of money. So this is like in the 30s. He traveled to New York from Chicago, and he chizbah with the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the Frierdiker Rebbe knows why he's sitting there, and he knows the Frierdiker Rebbe knows why he's sitting there. So he says to the Rebbe, "Megich tetel namaisa." Can I tell a story? The Rebbe says, "Yeah." So he tells the Rebbe, he says there was a Yid in a certain town who didn't really have parnas, didn't have a way to support his family. So he used to go. And every night he would steal, didn't hurt anybody, he would just steal from some people just to have food for his family, take from others. And one night he says, there's one house I didn't yet visit, I didn't go to. He says, a light on. So he climbs down the chimney and he comes in. And at 12 o'clock, and I realize it's his rabbi's house. The rabbi is sitting up and he's learning. And he says, Yankel, can I help you? The Yankel is all startled. He says to his rabbi, how do I get out of here? He says to him, how do I get out of here? So he tells the Rebbe, how do I get out of this mess? In other words, I created this mess, how to get out of it. I don't know what the Rebbe told him. Anyway, that was the story. Yeah, if you could have also the Geshmak line, he says that by tzedakah, it says in halacha that you're supposed to give ma'aser, content. But on the vazviz, if you want to be very, very, so to speak, very expensive, give 5%, give 20%, yes, which is 1/5. But don't give more than 1/5 of your earnings under ordinary circumstances. So the Rebbe says, what happens if someone's going to violate that? Give more. It says give 25%. The Rebbe says Hashem is going to bench them that what they gave is only going to be their ma'aser. So they won't violate. So the words will speak forever. Have a great Shabbos. Geschmack, Verbringen, Shabbos. Okay, you did it.
Rabbi Hanoka, I do know all these stories.
I have two answers. First answer is that I love stories, so there's a certain magnetic energy I love to. The second answer is that my wife and I have a deal that until age 2, she takes care of the baby at night. After 2, I put them to sleep. That was the way we were set up. So when my boys were little, I had to put them to sleep. But they insisted on the story, and I wanted to get them to sleep on time, so I prepare stories. But thanks to them, I know hundreds of stories now.
Wow.
Hashem. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Your children.
They get the credit from them.
Yeah.
Hashem. All right, have a good Shabbos.
Thank you.
The stories are very important because they embody embody Jewish life.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. The Rebbe said also that when we tell our stories, we tell our stories of Hasidim, because a tzaddik we're not going to attain. We're not tzaddikim.
Yeah.
But when we tell stories of Hasidim, we have an opportunity to connect with something that's obtainable. And remind me of the place.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. That's one.
His fathers.
The other one.
Yeah.